أهلا بكم في هذا Hello everyone in this podcast, a podcast that is entertaining, that is amazing. In this podcast, the podcast of Hamzoon podcast, I would like to present three important ideas. The first idea is the radio transmitter and the radio receiver. In the past, we used to have a radio transmitter and a radio receiver, but today it's easily have been done with the phone. As in the phone, it is the easiest to transmit and conduct an interview or a podcast between friends. It has not been that hard to make such intellectual and such profound conduction at home or at a meeting place. This conduction cannot be even offline and can even be online. That's why making such podcast nowadays is the easiest and the coolest to do. The second idea that might be related is when people making podcasts, they have to be very happy and enjoyful in this podcast. And this idea is not right for me because people can be very sad and can be very redundant as they speak. I am speaking of experience as I have recorded this podcast once earlier and the sound was very bad. That's why I decided to repeat it. And that make me very, very uneasy. I will do it regardless, and I hope this time the sound and my voice would be better for the listeners. The last podcast has been about 18 minutes in length, and I will probably delete it. This podcast, I will delete it too if it would be with a low quality audio, because low quality audio is not very nice to listen to, and even me will not hear it anymore and will not make anything out of it, as it will only hurt my ears. That's why I've recorded this one again. Anyways, in this one, I have talked about the radio and said that I have talked about different subjects. There were three, and as I said in the beginning, but they might be more or less. Another subject is the community and how to make a dental community more established. This would be with broadcasts, hopefully, with interviews and with such stuff. Well, it will be as many people discuss their ideas in different fields of experiences in dentistry, in medicine, and even in engineering and in technology. Uh, yeah, so I have talked in the last podcast that I will be deleting immediately, or I will be deleting uh, soon, that That the last one, I've talked about different subjects. I would not repeat the subjects as it will be. I know it might be beneficial to you to hear these subjects again, but the way that I will be presenting would be so boring and uneasy, as I have already talked about in the last one that I would be deleting. Therefore, I would be talking about something else. So let's do it. Let's talk about something else. Um, and maybe something similar that I will talk to you about. The last one, maybe I will present it in a different manner, is the way you speak. Whether it's to your friend or to the general public or public speaking, there are different ways that one can talk. And talking to yourself would be very, very different from talking to your friend. Talking to your friend even would be very different from talking to the general public or to even to a group of people. One might ask that what is the difference between talking to a group of people, two or three, for example, and from talking to one person? In my experience, I am really used to talking to one person or two actually just one person, maybe two sometimes, but not more than that. If it gets more than two people, I will be struggling in presenting myself genuinely, genuinely. Even in podcasts, the manner of speech that I am talking to in a podcast alone or with a friend, and talking in that this manner would be different. For example, if I'm speaking to a wide audience in a live speech, because I would have to take in regard their feelings and their way of thinking and their general idea. Every group and every society has a general idea that they stick to. And if you talk in a different way from my speech, that is what I am presenting to you right now, there will be consequences that are not quite well. Let me give you an example. If you talk to three people, let's say, in a community or a dental community, let's say, you start talking as if you are talking to yourself or as if you are talking to one person. These two people, or even this one person, would start feeling disgusted with your manner. If they don't like what they hear, they will stop hearing it. And they will even dismiss the whole conversation and stop the interaction. That's why when speaking to different personalities, you'd have to be very careful. Some personalities would rather talk about general stuff like hello, hi, goodbye, see you later. Some others would like only cliches, to give them a cliche and they will be okay. I would not go deep. If you go deep with those kind of personal series, they would like I told you what they would do. They'll start feeling disgusted and they'll leave the conversation. Or they even might antagonize you and would might start hating you for the way you spoke to them or the way they have heard your podcast accidentally or by intention. Regardless of that, I will speak the way I speak to whom that it matters and to whom that would like my podcast. There might be no one that would like it, but still, I'd present it as trying something is better than trying nothing. So these were the ideas that I've spoke earlier in the other podcast. Speaking, oh, by the way, there are another subject that actually two subjects. The first is improvising, as podcast Hamzoon is all about improvising and is all about yes, that's all about improvising. That's all I can say. The other subject is about speaking. So, what happens when people speak, and what happens when people start sharing their ideas? You might have heard in your lifespan about 100,000 hours of educational content. But from these 100,000 hours, have you even understand the thing about it? I would argue yes, especially when repeating an information. If you do an operation on a patient, then you forget it after a week. Therefore, you have to repeat and repeat this operation and start hearing conversation about that subject in order for you to keep the operation steps and skills in mind. If you don't, you'll forget. And that's a nice thing to share. Probably most of you know that, and some people know and speak another language and they leave it for a year and they forget it. Some people, the thing that I want to reach is practice. Practicing is good, and practicing you have to do it every day so that you can improve your language. I think I'm so tired from this podcast, and I will end it here. Thank you for listening to this podcast. It has been two podcasts for me, but for you it's one, because the other one I will delete as its sound would not be so good. We will do another podcast tomorrow. Thank you and goodbye.